Good morning. Welcome back here at ESCMID Global TV Live. My name is Judith Cohen, and we are here at our TV studio on the Congress premises here in Vienna. And I am very proud and happy to announce that I have my next live guest with me in the studio, who is no one less than a keynote lecturer, Juliane Bubeck Wardenburg. Warm welcome to you, Juliane.
Thank you, Judith.
So you will be holding a keynote lecture today at 2:45, so 2:45 to 3:45 in Hall 1 with the title Staphylococcus aureus, Host Microbe Interactions, Ecology, Disease and Vaccine Development. So we're very interested here at ESCMID Global TV to hear a little bit more about the talk that you will be giving, just so we can tease our viewers a little with your content and make sure that they all come and attend your keynote lecture this afternoon. So I guess the important question would be, how does Staph aureus go from unnoticed on some people's skins, and why does it progress or evolve into very serious infections in others?
Yes. Thank you, Judith, for the invitation to join you today. I think the question that you've raised is actually probably one of the most pivotal and unanswered questions in the entire field.
Yeah.
There has been a lot of consideration of the fact that this is an organism that is highly adaptable. So life on the skin is one in which the bug adapts on a probably constant basis in order to preserve its niche and be successful on a population-based level.
Yeah.
Why it is that the bug in some individuals and only in some circumstances converts to becoming a pathogen, we don't know.
Oh.
There are certainly host susceptibilities that are discriminatory in this regard. There are very likely signatures of the immune response that may differentiate me from you and from our other colleagues, that may give the bug an advantage in one host compared to another. But this to me is really one of the critical areas at the forefront of the field, to understand heterogeneity,
Yeah.
to understand why in most of the population on most days, we don't even know that this bug lives with us.
Yeah. So is Staph aureus on everyone's skin?
What's
Or
also a
yes,
very
carriers.
interesting question, yes. So about 50%, 30 to 50% of the population at any one given time will have Staph aureus detectable on one of their skin surfaces. That's not necessarily just the nose. The bug lives on warm, moist surfaces. So 30 to 50% at any one given time. But what's interesting is if you look at adults, there have been a number of studies done that look at the antibody response to Staph aureus in adult populations. Every adult has an antibody response to this bug,
Yeah.
which suggests that every single one of us has actually encountered the bug at some point in time.
Yeah.
Whether that's very early in life or whether that is over the course of life, probably differs from person to person.
Yeah. So do we know anything about if you encounter a Staph aureus early in life, you will not be as prone to its virulence, or is there information known about that?
Great question, great question. So we've focused particularly in that early life window, thinking that understanding those initial encounters with Staph aureus probably holds an important key to understand that very question that you ask, which is, does early life pattern in some way the response later in life? We think that it does, and quite likely it does this because our immune systems are taught, if you will, how to interact with our surrounding world, all of the microbes, all of the pathogens, very early in life. And because of the fact that Staph aureus colonizes at least 50% of children in the first few weeks of life, or the first few months of life, very likely that interaction is starting quite early. And I think that this is probably part of the mechanism by which this bug gains a foothold in terms of being able to survive and live actually quite happily with most humans.
So do you feel there should be more preventative actions taken in order to decrease the number of serious Staph aureus infections?
Yes, and I think that most everyone in the field would agree with this.
Yeah.
Staph aureus is one of the leading causes of bacterial related mortality worldwide.
Yeah.
And what's really incredible is that we haven't moved the needle on this. There have been many vaccines that have gone into clinical trials that have not yet proven to be effective on a large scale. So we do not yet have a vaccine that's approved.
And why are they not effective? Is it because maybe the population that is being vaccinated is not the right one? Or is it that the vaccines just don't target the right pathophysiological mechanism or mode of action, have the right mode of action?
Yes, also fantastic questions. I think the verdict is out on these. I'll offer a few ideas as to why I think the vaccines have not worked. I think one of the challenges is when you look at the adult population and you recognize that each one of us has a fingerprint, if you will, of an immune response to Staph aureus. The likelihood that any single vaccine will trigger the exact type of response on a large population level, I think is unlikely. This is very different than the concept of vaccinating early in life, say against diphtheria or pertussis when an infant doesn't have an existing immune response. You have the opportunity with infant vaccines to actually shape the precise response that you would like. That's very different when you're trying to vaccinate adults who have heterogeneous immune responses. And I think that the complexity of that heterogeneity has not been accounted for. And then I think the other question that the field has really asked is, what should be the target of vaccines? And I'll broadly classify those targets into, I think, two broad subgroups, one of which is targeting virulence, so targeting the mechanisms by which the bug causes injury. The second of which would be targeting the mechanisms by which the bug perturbs the adaptive immune response. All of the vaccines to date have targeted virulence, which is a very classic mechanism of vaccine-mediated protection against other pathogens. I would argue for Staph aureus, or for an organism that needs to exist with its human host in a fairly balanced interaction on a daily basis and on a worldwide basis, protecting the immune system against the ways in which the bug will thwart immunity is perhaps the most, I would say, currently obvious strategy that may give us an advantage in vaccine development.
So on the other hand, when you look, well, on the preventative action, there is a lot of research going on, not there yet, but you also have like the control of Staph aureus serious infections. What are unmet needs in the field of treatment?
Yeah, I think probably one of the most important unmet needs is early detection and early identification that Staph aureus is the offending pathogen. Many physicians, myself included, recognize that we're behind the 8 ball at the bedside. Patients show up, we suspect infection, but it is often a period of at least 24 hours before we have some real identification of the offending pathogen. It's been exciting at the conference to see so many of the innovations that have come about with next-gen sequencing and the ability to provide early detection capability. I think this will probably transform our ability to have a better insight earlier at the bedside in order to deliver the treatment that will be most beneficial. So really moving the field away from, I think, what's characterized infectious disease in the past, which has been non-personalized, to a much more personalized approach to understanding this patient at this time in this bed or in this room? And how can we really deliver a tailored therapeutic approach that will most so benefit that person?
And do you have a large enough arsenal of tailored approaches to your availability? Or
not quite yet.
Is that a problem also? Yeah.
Not quite yet. I think certainly we all live in fear of the drug-resistant bugs.
Yeah.
I think with the pipeline for antimicrobials being lean, this is always a concern. I think one of the exciting areas in the field as we move more towards personalized medicine and more towards an understanding of the specific immunologic characteristics of a given individual, this is really where monoclonal antibody-based therapy may become of keen utility. Yeah. If you think about the application of monoclonal-based therapy on a population level, it's actually fiscally probably not viable. But if you think about the application of that therapy in an individual for whom you can demonstrate has a need that could be met by that therapy, the relative benefit of those sorts of therapies, I think, actually really increases substantially. And I look forward to the day when, we may have such an armamentarium available to us, not just for Staph aureus, but for other pathogens.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. Well, there's so much to talk about a Staph aureus, just one bug, but it has such a large impact on human health and human disease. You'll probably be zooming in also a little bit more, I guess, on the pathogenesis
yes.
in more detail during your keynote lecture. So that's something for our viewers to make them join you and your lecture if they want to hear more. Thank you so much for coming here to our studio and telling us more about Staph aureus and, well, the magnitude of the small bug that it can yield. Thank you all for watching us here at ESCMID Global TV live. We will be back at 11 o'clock, and we will be welcoming the team that has won the selective pressure quiz. So all the team members will be here and share their experience of how they won the quiz and how they experienced the quiz, obviously. If you are triggered and very excited and motivated to visit the keynote lecture by Juliane Bubeck Wardenburg on the Staph aureus host microbe interactions, make sure to go to Hall 1 today at 2:45. We will be tuning out now here at ESCMID Global TV, and as I mentioned, we will be back at 11 o'clock, and we hope to see you then.